Hey everybody, this is Dream. This is going to be my breakdown, my top picks for UFC 279. This has some really good fights in it, and I've got several different fighters that I think are really good for this particular fight. I'm just going to go through each individual fight, starting from the bottom to the top, and I'll just mention the people the fighters rather, that I like in those fights. I have several people below this 8,300 line. And the reason for that is obviously you've got to roster a few of those, so you got to find some people that you think are going to have a good chance there. And so without further ado, let me go ahead and get into the fighters. Starting from the 13th, I have Darian Weeks. He's in a pretty good fight against this Lanisi guy. And I think he just is generally, both of them haven't particularly been fighting very well, but I think he's going to win the fight. And so because of that, he should be able to score some decent amount of points. He's probably the lowest scoring guy that I've picked to potentially to win, so do keep that into consideration. But overall, I think is a pretty solid option. Then going down to the 10th fight, we have Norma Dumont. She is favored pretty heavily. She's not one of the biggest scoring fighters, but she's still pretty good. And she's 3-1 in fights when she isn't favored, and she's heavily favored in this one. So I suspect that this is going to be a fight that she's going to be able to win. I just don't know if she's going to get the 100 points or so that we will really want, but if she can get 80 or 90, that would definitely be helpful overall. Then I've got let's see here. In the 9th fight, I have Jake Collier as an option here. This fight's actually going to be, it's kind of tight from what I can tell. But I do think that when he does win, he scores a lot of points. And I think he's in a position where he is going to be slightly favored. So he's definitely, I think, worth taking a look at simply on that front. He is 5-6 in the last 11 fights, and he's winning every other fight. So if he continues that up, he'll win this fight. So that's something that's really kind of funny and interesting. I think he's pretty good, though, in this particular fight. Like I said, he's favored, and he does have a tendency to score pretty good, so I like him as an option. Then the next fight is going to be the 7th fight, and that's going to be Almeida, Jalton Almeida. I don't know how to say your name, I'm sorry. Anyway, he scores a crap ton of points, and he's heavily favored. And so overall, I just think that he's a pretty solid option because he can score points pretty easily. And that's what we want in this particular situation. He's also the highest Vegas odds to win, I believe. So I definitely like him at this point. In the 6th fight, Julian Erosa. Now he's actually the cheapest person that I have on the list at $7,300. So you can definitely save some money. He has also really done good when he's won, and he's also pulled off some good upsets, and he scores a lot of points even in those upsets. So I definitely like him as a good option. He's got high scoring potential as well. Into the 5th fight. So I actually like both fighters here, and it's just a matter of who you think's going to win. It's a very even match between Johnny Walker and Ion Cutelaba. Both of these fighters look really solid. It look like that whoever wins is probably going to win by a KO, and I think that whoever wins is going to score, over 100 points. It's just a matter of who, and so I'm going to probably say Johnny Walker, but I could see plenty of arguments for Ion Cataluba, and so it's just really up to who you think's going to win. I would definitely recommend rostering whichever one you think is going to win. In the 4th spot, I have Irene Aldana. She is not as heavy. She is pretty heavily favored, and she also scores well when she wins. And I just don't see how she loses this fight. A lot of times, the female fights are a little bit. There's not as much, difference between the fighters. But in this particular fight, I think that she's going to be the overtly dominant one. And then to get into a really pretty big fight here, Kevin Holland and Rodriguez. I like both these guys again. I think that this fight could go either way. Kevin Holland is heavily favored, but I do think that Daniel Rodriguez has a pretty good chance to win this fight. Rodriguez has had one bad fight basically, and then he's won all these others. Um, but in some sense, I would say Kevin Holland is probably favored to win for a good reason, but it's not as tight as you. It's much tighter than you think it would be, maybe. And then I think that Daniel Rodriguez is a pretty good option to pick as a under the 8,300 range in order to give yourself a chance to get a big victory. Um, in the second fight, I have the leech because I don't know how to say his name, so I'm not even gonna attempt. But I think that he looks like he's heavily favored to win this fight. He's probably gonna win by a knockout, and he's probably just going to dominate and score a crap ton of points. So I definitely like him as a good option at $9,000. And then the final fight, I don't know how you pick against Kazmat, however you say his name, Boers. He looks like he's just been dominating everybody that he fights, and he's going to score a crap ton of points as a result. I think Nate Diaz is a little bit too old to really compete in this fight as much as he would be able to in his prime. But overall, I think that's a pretty solid fighter to choose from. Overall, there's four guys that I picked that are underneath the 8,333 range. There really wasn't as much value this week as there was in last week's UFC event, so I wasn't as happy with it. But still, overall, I think there's enough value that you can get around and figure out who you want at the top end in order to get good fighters in there and make good picks. So that's pretty much all I have for this video. Thanks again for liking, commenting, subscribing. Thanks again to the people that are on Discord and also on the Patreon. Gerald P and Patrick P for joining Patreon. Thank you guys, and I will have a nice day, guys.